Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. We'll give everyone a few minutes to jump in case of any tech difficulties, and then we will get into it. Little bit of housekeeping. There is a chat available. You should be able to see that on your screen. Feel free to jump anything or pop anything in there. It should be private, so only I can see what you put in there. And there should be a Q&A section where you can load in some questions for when we get to a Q&A at the end. Give it just a couple more minutes. I'll just repeat myself for everyone who just jumped in. Welcome to the webinar. There is a question box and a chat box, so you can leave anything throughout the presentation. At the end, we'll set some time aside for a Q&A. Hopefully all's working correctly. This is the first time I've used this software particularly, so hoping all goes smoothly. If you notice any tech difficulties, can't hear me, audio cuts out, presentation's not working, please just drop it in the chat. That would be greatly appreciated. One more minute, and then it looks like most people have jumped in, and then we will get going. There should hopefully also be a recorded version of this. If that doesn't work, I'll film it again. But either way, there will be some sort of recording coming to you guys within the next few days to a week, and I'll pop that over so you have that available now. All right, let me pull up the presentation and then we can get into it. All right, just in the chat, if everyone could just drop like a yes, or someone can drop a yes just to confirm that you can see the slides on the screen, that would be greatly appreciated. Cool. Nice, let's go. All right. So in this webinar, we're going to be going over Q1 specifically and how you can capitalize on your new Q4 customers without resorting to panic discounting. We're 2 weeks into Q1. A lot of you would have already been experiencing the start of your typical Q1 hangover. If this is your first Q1, welcome to the fun. If this is not your first radio, then I'm sure you know what I'm talking about and you've probably prepared a little bit for it, hopefully. Either way, in this presentation, we'll be going through a few strategies specific to reactivating your Q4 customers, but we'll also just touch on some general Q1 strategies with your email, SMS, and retention marketing, and what you should be doing to maximize your results in the here and now, in the short term, and mitigate a little bit of that Q1 hangover, but also what we can do to set ourselves up for a good 2026 and lay the foundations that we need. So there'll be 2 sections to this. I'll spend 5-10 minutes just going over a little bit of the context behind Q1, why it sucks so much, and then we'll go into the playbook followed by a Q&A at the end. So like I've just spent a few minutes saying, Q1 is a tough period, and this is extremely true for your email marketing. Most people experience a sales hangover across their total store, and then it amplifies in their email marketing results. And this isn't for no apparent reason. The data supports this very heavily. And there's 3 key factors that I've listed here that contribute to this. Firstly, you have email list fatigue. You personally have probably just been bombing all of your customers over Black Friday. So they've been getting more communication from you than ever before. You've been sending to them probably daily for a long period of time. So your deliverability is at the worst it's going to be all year. You've probably gone into your email account and noticed your open rates and click rates, they're as low as they'll be. But your competitors have also been doing that. Your customers have been getting hit from all angles. So they're fatigued, they've spent all their disposable income, they're not ready to jump in and purchase. The intent is very low here. Secondly, the new customers you've just acquired, if you follow me on Instagram, you'd see me been harping on about this for the past few weeks, but the new customers you've just acquired, they're bargain hunters, which I'll show you this graph. I'll blow it up in a second so you can see it a bit clearer. But it's very evident here that the new customers you acquired, they're bargain hunters, they're gift givers, they're not necessarily high value customers. And email as a channel is typically a lagging indicator. And what I mean by that is your email results are essentially, for most brands, 3 to 4 months behind how your ads have been performing. So say, for example, in January, your ads are pumping and you're acquiring tons of new customers and things are scaling really well. 3 to 4 months later, your email account is going to start looking really healthy as you start capitalizing on those natural repurchase windows. Whereas if in January, you didn't do a very good job at acquiring new customers, 3 to 4 months later, things aren't going to be looking too good in your email account as less people are going to be coming back naturally and placing a second order. Now, what was 3 to 4 months ago? Black Friday. We just acquired tons of new customers. So why aren't these people coming back? Why isn't this good? Well, see point 2, and let's blow up this cohort chart so I can show you this a little more carefully. Now, if you're familiar with cohort charts, this will make a lot of sense to you straight away. But if you're not, let me just give you a brief explainer. The 2 highlighted rows here are customers that we acquired for the first time in January 2024 and customers we acquired for the first time in November 2024. Now, this is based on real data from a 9-figure activewear brand here in Australia. So this is a big data set. What you can see was from the customers they acquired in January 2024, they have pretty good repeat purchase rates. These percentages show you how many of those customers that first purchased with us in January 2024 returned in subsequent months. So for these January customers, 8% of them returned in February, 12% of them returned during Afterpay Day, 15% of them returned during end of financial year, and 6% of them still returned later in September when we weren't running any type of promotion. Compare that to the customers this brand acquired during Black Friday. Only 3% of them returned in January, 2.8% returned in February. They see a spike in Afterpay Day because these people are bargain hunters. They come back for the sale. Even then, though, only 10% of them returned, and in the January customers, 12% of them returned. So this January cohort still returns at higher rates during sale periods. But then you look 8 months on, these customers are only returning, 3% at a time. They're not high value customers compared to customers we acquire in January, February, March, April, May, all these months where we're not on sale. And there's a reason for that, which I will touch on a little bit later when we're going through the playbook. But that gives you a little bit of context. Now, when I first spoke to some people in the industry about this data, they said to me, these people that, yes, they're gift givers and bargain hunters, but would their buying tendencies, be reflected better in their lifetime value? Maybe they're a gift giver, but they give gifts twice a year. They come and they place $400 every year for Christmas. And does that make them a valuable customer over a long period of time? Well, no, it doesn't. And I have data to back that up as well. Now, this is relevant, and I'll sort of tie it together in a second. But what you can see is the customers who came through in November and October and December specifically had a much lower AOV than the customers we acquired in January and February. So not only are these customers coming in sale period, but they're actually spending less money with us on their first order. The second chart here is their LTV, so the amount of money they spend with us in their lifetime. The October, November, and December customers all had spent less money with our brand than the January customers, which is crazy when you think about it, because these customers from December, November, and October have all been with our business longer than the January customers. So these January customers have shopped and most likely shopped again and now spent more money than any of these customers who are even older than them. So you sort of have these customers who return less often, they have a low AOV, and they have a low LTV. That is the worst trifecta of a customer you can get. Now, a lot of people, different agencies, freelancers, people in e-commerce will tell you Q1 is such an important time because this is your time to recapitalize on your Q4 customers. You've got to build the systems correctly so you can get these Q4 customers to come back. But looking at this data, you can't shift reality. These customers, they're gift givers, they're bargain hunters. No matter how good of an email marketer you are or how good of a product you have, there's not going to be a lot you can do to influence the natural buying tendencies of these customers. So there's 2 primary goals in saying that, because that doesn't mean you should just come into Q1 and go, oh, well, it's going to suck. Let's just give in to Q1 and that's life. Let's try again in Q2. It's not the case. Q1 is still an important time, and you should have 2 primary goals. The first one is to rebuild rapport and to bridge the value discrepancy with our existing customers. Now, this graph sort of articulates what I mean by a value discrepancy and is a big reason as to why these sort of bargain hunter style customers don't come back. Think about it. If a customer had never, say you sell white t-shirts, a customer had never shopped with your brand before, they find you during Black Friday. You're telling them your white t-shirt is worth $50 because you're 50% off. They go, great, I think that's a fair trade. They place an order. You turn around one day in January and you flick your pricing back to full price and you turn off your sales and you go to that same customer, hey, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, our white t-shirt's actually now $100, but for no other reason. Like it's just $100 now because we felt like changing the price back to full price. That customer's going to go, hang on, I believe this was worth $50, but I don't think it's worth $100. So this is where your value discrepancy comes in. We need to address that value discrepancy strategically. The second thing we need to do is reduce the repeat purchase window of Q4 customers. Like I showed you in that cohort chart before, most of them are only going to come back during our next sales, after payday and end of financial year. Outside of that, it's just, however lucky you can get and however, needle in a haystack quality customers you acquired during Black Friday. So these are our two goals: bridge the value discrepancy, reduce the repeat purchase window. There's a clear fork in the road, however, in Q1. You might know that those are your goals, but it's actually hard to execute. Maybe not so much physically, they'll give you some actions in this where, this is the things that you should be doing and you can go and click the buttons. But mentally, it can be a bit of a battle in Q1 because you start the year, like I alluded to at the start, you're in the middle of a sale hangover and brands usually make one or two choices. And you see this every single year. We see it every single year. You either decide to prepare for a big year ahead, lay the right foundations, plan successfully, and start rebuilding your marketing funnel, which is the path to growth. Or you get a little bit panicky, you optimize for short-term revenue, you throw out some more discounts, and you erode that goodwill and set yourself up for decline. If you come into Q1, if you come into January and February and to try boost repeat customer revenue or to just try get more sales in the door because it's not looking so good, so you go, all right, let's just run a 24-hour flash sale. 24 hours can't hurt. It's just 24 hours or 48 hours. Before you know it, you're running 3 or 4 different flash sales to try make up revenue. And you've taken that path to decline where you're not laying a good foundation with your customers whatsoever, and you're not bridging that value discrepancy. So that's the context. Hopefully Q1 and why it's been so tough makes a little more sense to you now, and you understand a little bit of that Black Friday data. Specifically, try remember this when we're going into Black Friday this year. I know it's ages away, but it is really important because there'll be a lot of people in your ear who are telling you this is the time to acquire as many customers as humanly possible because that's how you sort of, springboard yourself into a great next year. Not the case. It's very, very hard to influence these customers to come back. So let's go through the playbook. What exactly should we be doing to mitigate all of this and achieve the 2 goals I just mentioned? Firstly, I'll skim through this one, but you don't want to get caught panic discounting. I've said this 4 times already, but you spend the whole year building up your marketing funnel. There's usually 2 or 3 times you cash in on it. Maybe a sale at the start of the year, after payday, end of financial year, Black Friday. That's when you sort of empty the stragglers in your marketing funnel. So post Black Friday, your funnel or your brand equity, your goodwill with your customers is the smallest it's ever going to be. If you keep discounting, you're just going to erode it to zero. But if you relax and you put in some good long-term strategies, that's where we start building it back up. The first thing you need to do, which I hope many of you are already doing, is shift your creative and messaging. It's very obvious, but this is the first thing you need to do, and you need to stick to it. Set yourself a theme in your email calendar, in your ads, in your social media for January, and use that theme to create all of your content around. This runs a lot deeper than just sending like a New Year, New Me email. These are some examples on the screen of some really well executed emails of how you can actually shift the creative and messaging. But the first and most obvious one is, if you're in health and wellness or something like that, lean into the New Year's resolution. There's a resolution shift. Everyone wants to change their life. You can lean into that. But there's some other good examples here which you'll notice. Firstly, fashion. Fashion is one of the best because there's seasonal stuff. There's wardrobe refresh. There's New Year, New You, look better, feel good, all that stuff. If you sell office supplies, it's like, is your office due for a makeover? There's plenty of ways you can spin that. But what about, say, if you're an alcohol brand? What person in their right mind comes into the new year and says, you know what my New Year's resolution is? It's to drink more. I've never heard someone say that. And for a good reason. But These alcohol brands, they don't, they don't back away or shy down, and they don't necessarily go, hey, don't drink. They just shift their creative and messaging in a different way. They focus on recapping what happened, in the last year, what gives some updates on the brand, tell some stories, what's ahead for this year. Some alcohol brands even celebrate dry January. They encourage people to lean into it. But the key theme you'll find throughout all of these is they're very authentic, and storytelling is never going to fail you. Now, I have an extreme example here, and I would love to see more brands incorporate this throughout Q1 this year and just going forward in email marketing. This is one of our clients, Lilo Active. They sell activewear, specifically in the Pilates niche. Now, I say this as an extreme example because the Lilo Active founders earlier 2025 shared their founder's pregnancy journey to their email list. There was a 4 or 5 email series that we did over the first quarter of the year where we, took their customers and took their community through the story of what it was like running a brand while being pregnant and expecting your first baby. So much so, one of the emails actually made the news, which was great for PR. But the founders wanted to do this for a community play, and all props to them. This was their idea. But it was so well received that this series of 5 emails were our best performers that were, non-Black Friday or anything. They were our best evergreen performers over the course of the whole year. And they drove some of the highest attributed revenue, top 10 emails of the year, that weren't sale or offer related. Extremely strong. You don't have to be this extreme, but every brand can learn from this. Share real human stories, start a series, or just be authentic. It can be as simple as, talking about New Year, New Me in your creative and messaging. It can be as simple as telling some recaps of last year. Or it can be as complex as starting an authentic storytelling series where once a week you jump in and you just tell a story about what, trials and tribulations in the brand. It can be as simple as you're going to introduce a fun fact Friday or, tip of the week Tuesday or, best deal of the week. Have some sort of authentic series where you unpack something and you get a bit of your personality behind it. That's the best way to cut through because everyone's just spent Q4 being sold to, and they want a little bit of, a refresh, something that's not going to be so aggressive. They want to connect. Now, on a broader level, in this sort of e-commerce market, we've seen this play out with creator-led brands. So many, influencers who start brands are doing really well. Brands who take advantage of good organic content are doing really well. And as we enter an era where AI is becoming more and more prevalent and most people are just producing sloppy AI content, this real human stuff that has that distinct human edge and a real story behind it is going to get way better cut through. So if you take one thing away from what I've said so far, write a note down saying, create an authentic series. It doesn't have to be super in-depth. It doesn't have to be weekly. Do whatever you can, but make it your mission to make something really authentic and something personal, or even just write more plain text emails where you don't use AI. That would be a great start. Now, secondly, this is probably the most important thing when it comes to having a good Q1. Every single one of our brands over the last couple of years that have had the most successful Q1s, seeing great year-on-year growth. So these are 3 different brands here, 3 different niches, 3 different sizes, a massive brand, smaller brand, sort of medium brand. They all saw fantastic year-on-year growth because of their product portfolio and their product offering in Q1. All of these brands released new, fresh products or collections in Q1, specifically in that January, February time. Q1 is ideal for launching new collections and products because of the value discrepancy. You might not be able to tell a customer that the white tee you were selling for $50 in November is now worth $100, but you can tell them that this new product or collection they haven't seen before is worth full price. Even better, if this is exclusive or limited edition, and you can sort of FOMO people in or have the urgency in for people buying because it's limited edition. Great examples of this are brands that are releasing Lunar New Year stuff. Year of the whatever, I don't know what it is, but the Lunar New Year, that particular animal for the year only comes once every blue moon or whatever it is. So if you're Year of the Snake and that your favorite brand is releasing exclusive Year of the Snake phone case or something, you're probably going to buy that. It's a great limited edition product because if you pass up on that, too bad. You can't get it until the next Year of the Snake, which is a mile away. So the more exclusive, the more limited edition it is, the better. But at the very least, new products and collections perform best. Now, it's obviously too late to organize that. It's the middle of January, Chinese New Year's around the corner. Most people can't get their hands on stock. So take that point. If you haven't organized it, run it into 2027 Q1. But what you can do is use bundles to your advantage. If you don't have anything new, get some refreshes going in your merchandising with bundling. It's a great way to boost AOV, but you can also repackage things. Like if you have existing bundles, switch them up, trial some new offers. For example, one of our clients this year already has switched. They had an offer for 2 for $100 t-shirts or something, and now they've just switched it to 3 for $150, and it's cranking. Completely, new spin on it. Very similar offer, same value, better margin for the brand, and it's performing really well on new customer acquisition. Bundles are great at this time of year, especially, in fashion, it's great, but out of fashion, if you're in supplements, if you're in skincare, if you're in something consumable like that, your New Year's starter kit, your, skincare 2026 refresh, whatever it is, like you can package bundles in such a creative way to help people start the year strong. But fresh launches, whether it's bundles, collections, new products, limited edition, all perform really well. In saying that as well, there's a few optimal launch windows where we want to slot these in based on what we saw work really well last year. There's 3 key sale dates, which I'll speak to next. I won't touch on these yet, but I've mapped them out here. The 5th of January, it's not really a sale date, but also a key date. 5th of January, 12th of January, it's when everyone returns to work. 14th of February is Valentine's Day, and sometime in the latter end of March is Afterpay Day. In between those are our 2 launch windows. So that is where you slot something in. That is the best place to sort of bring up the baseline of your Q1. Valentine's Day is a natural peak if you're a brand that can lean into that. Afterpay Day is a big peak. What the key to Q1 is just bringing up the 2 periods in between that. So whether that's the launches that I'm talking about now or the more left field strategy that I'm going to talk about next. The other notes and tips I have for this is build as much momentum as possible. You really need to get in front of people with these launches, as it is a tough time of year in terms of buying intent and disposable income and the economy. Everyone's just spend all their money on holidays, whatever, Christmas presents. So we need to get as much momentum as possible. If you're launching it this time of year, get 2 to 3 teaser emails in, hype up your launch as much as you can, 1 to 2 emails on launch day, and a series of follow-ups. But it's very key that you plan these launches strategically. Don't get too close to Valentine's Day. Don't get too close to Afterpay Day, as you don't want to cannibalize on those peaks. Q1 is sparse enough as it is. You need to be very strategic when you're releasing these new products, collections, bundles, whatever you may do. Now, I just alluded to this left field approach. This software has sort of like compressed my presentation a little bit, hence why our logo stuffs. But I'll read you through it anyway. The left field approach that I want to do is, and exactly what we've already started planning and building for this year, it's how we're going to target Q4 buyers strategically. I spoke at length to this cohort chart at the start, and this is the same one I showed you earlier. But these buyers, they have a natural tendency. They're bargain hunters. I've said it 100 times. There's not lots we can do to change that. There's no win back flow. There's no special, thing or piece of copy you can say that is going to inherently change these customers' behavior. They are who they are. But what if we can use that to our advantage? This is one of my favorite strategies and most overlooked things. These shoppers rarely repurchase until the next big promo. We know that. They're not coming back till March if you run Afterpay Day. But what if we could pull them in strategically in January or February? The best way to do that is to meet them in the middle. Now, say, for example, in Black Friday, you acquired these customers at 40% off, for argument's sake. Our ideal scenario is we bring these customers back at full price. That's what we want. That's what they want. They want 40%. We want 0%. It's okay to meet in the middle, especially just for this cohort of customers. And we can do so strategically as well by using less desirable stock or lighter offers to re-engage them. So what our goal here to do is to bring these customers forward so we're not having to rely on Afterpay Day and another big promotion to get them in and sort of let them win that negotiation per se. Hypothetically, let's take this red line. This red line is what your customer repeat purchase rate is going to look like usually on customers you acquired in Q4. So if I was someone who shopped with your brand for the first time in Black Friday, I'm 2% likely to return in January, 2% likely to return in February. But in March, when you turn on Afterpay Day, I'm 10% likely to return. And then after that, I'm back to 2%. That's probably what it looks like. What if in February you come in and you say, hey, I know you came in at 40% off during March. You're obviously not actually going to say this. This is just how the mental game of it works. I know you came in at 40% off in March. How about we give you 20% or even 30%, or we give you 15%? And we're going to make it strategic so it only applies to these certain collections, which, we don't really want anymore. You might get 4 or 5% of those customers come back in February. They're bargain hunters. They see the discount light up and, they go for it. Now, what you've done is you've pulled forward a percentage of those customers to shop with you earlier, and you've acquired them at a less of a discount. So usually you're only, say, X% profitable on them when you're selling to them at 40% off. Now you've reacquired them at 20% off. You're more profitable on those people you've convinced to come back earlier, and you haven't relied on Afterpay Day, and you reduce that customer conversion cycle because now they're shopping with you a month earlier. Great for LTV, great for that 60-day LTV, great for getting more cash into your business from that cohort who is usually, very hard bargainers. This is, if I said before, if the one thing you take away from this is, write down, do your authentic messaging. If the second thing you take away from this is create a strategic offering for your Q4 customers. Don't rely on some, staple templated win back flow. Don't rely on blasting a sale to your whole entire list. Come up with something strategic and personal for these people and send it to them and target them with it. Now I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that. There's 4 steps. It's pretty simple in the grand scheme of things, but it's 4 steps. You choose which date you want to do it. I would be trying to get this in before Valentine's Day. It doesn't need much planning, but I would be trying to get it in before Valentine's Day. We had some clients earlier this year come to us say, hey, we actually need to run 25% off this collection. How do you think we go about it? I said, let's just test it with the Q4 customers and test it early. But the best time is between now and Valentine's Day. Secondly, you create your segment. I'll show you how to do that in a second. But these are people who we acquired for the first time during Black Friday, who have not come back and bought with us since. Thirdly, create your offer. Simply make it less than what you would have run at Black Friday or less than what you're going to run for Afterpay Day. And the 4th thing you need to do is execute. I'm going to give you an example of an email I would send to get this cohort over the line. So this is the segment you need to run. Take a screenshot of this if you have to. It's very simple. Essentially, someone has placed orders 0 times before whenever you started Black Friday. For this brand, it was November the 12th. They've placed orders at least once between the end dates of Black Friday. So you actually put this the day before Black Friday started and the day after Cyber Monday ended. Just saw someone say, will this be available to rewatch as I have to go? Yes, this will be available to rewatch. And the last sort of definition here is placed orders 0 times after Cyber Monday. So this is just people who placed an order for the time during Cyber Monday. During Black Friday, Cyber Monday, either or. I'll let everyone take a second to take a screenshot of that, but this will be available to rewatch. Now, you have a cohort of people who you acquired for the first time during Black Friday who have not come back and bought since. Now, it's mid-January. Chances are most of these people aren't going to come back until after payday. So we have some free shots here to re-engage them. For this brand, 56,000 people. I'm taking a hell of a shot at that because, if you can get 1% of them across, it's still a good day out. Now, an example email. The key with an email, and you can take a screenshot of this as well, but I'll explain through it. The key with what you want to do here to strategically engage these Q4 customers to the best of your ability is to not make it look like a blanket sale that you're throwing on the site. Remember, it's just for this cohort. You don't necessarily want to update the site. You don't necessarily want to make it an automatic discount. You don't want to put it on your socials. You want these customers to actually feel like they're getting a special coupon. And the way we can easily frame it is, we know these customers have only placed 1 order with us. So it's been a couple of months since your first order with us. I wanted to drop in with a small gift for you. We're so happy you enjoyed the community. Can't wait for you to explore more of the range. And tie this back to the time in which they purchased. The end of 2025 was really special for us and your support meant the world. So, we want to say thanks. There's an exclusive 15% off code here you can use at checkout. Make it something a little creative, like a code like this with some numbers attached where it actually looks like it's something unique that you've generated for them. But make it in Shopify. Don't actually make it a unique coupon. We want to be able to track this in Shopify. This will get you 15% off anything on the site, and you can still get free shipping on orders over $100. Excuse me. Combining these two offers at the end is almost like the dagger for this cohort. They're bargain hunters. Remember, these people want to shop bargains, or they're buying gifts. I mean, the gift giver people are going to be harder to get across, but the bargain hunter people, you dangle the right cherry in front of them and they'll come for it. So 15% off, plus remind them of any shipping or any gift with purchase or anything else you have active on your site. Recommend some products so it feels personal and like you're actually writing it. And, you know, I just made up some products here, but this is how you'd set it out. My personal favorites at the moment are XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. Happy shopping. As always, reach out if you have any questions. Excuse me. And then again, just a simple call to action. The last thing you need to do is have a PS section. Hopefully that hasn't cut off for you guys, but have a PS section which adds a little bit of urgency. I'll keep this code active for you for the next week. That is it. But if you can do that, you've given them the discount and you've given them the urgency with a time frame, you are going to convert people and bring them forward to purchase earlier before Afterpay Day. If you don't add the urgency, they're just going to wait. They're going to be like, oh, look, I'm going to keep hunting for a better bargain. There was another comment here, grab the recording sooner rather than later to show it to other people in the organization. Yes, I will. If this software doesn't send a recording, I will film a recording by tomorrow and I'll have it to everyone by the weekend. But just circling back to this, urgency, discount, personalization. Make it a plain text email. You can ask for any feedback. You know, you can make it as personal as you want. Tell a bit of a story, whatever. But this is my sort of favorite format. It's short, it's sweet, it's personal, unique sort of looking discount, and a bit of urgency sprinkled in at the end. Do this, and I guarantee you will, well, maybe I can't guarantee it legally, but if you write some good copy, you've a 90% chance of bringing a lot of these customers forward to shop with you before Afterpay Day. And that is a massive win for your company, because trust me, your win back flows, your post-purchase flows, your sunset flows, like none of these typical Klaviyo flows are going to, you know, a simple Klaviyo design that just hits them isn't going to entice these customers. I will preface that this is secondary to having great product portfolio launching in Q1. That is still the best thing you can do. Product portfolio, collections, bundling, all those things I mentioned earlier, setting yourself up for the long term, like starting with your authentic messaging. These are all the things that will pay dividend over time. This left field strategy is more designed as a short-term play to try and influence these Q4 customers to come back. Now, it might not work for everyone, but we've seen this work before, and we're definitely going to be running it again, because when executed and when it converts, it's a lifesaver, and it's pretty much a zero risk shot. Like, what's the worst case scenario? These customers don't use the discount and they just come back in Afterpay Day. Not the end of the world. Now, moving on. The other thing you can be doing at this time of year, obviously I used a 15% off example in that email, but the other thing you can be doing at this time of year is positioning your offers without necessarily a hard discount. The thing you always want to be doing is giving a reason for the discount, or coming up with other creative ways to frame something. Like in that email, we gave a reason for the discount. This was a personal thanks for your support during the end of 2025, as it was a special time for us. Or you can do an overstock sale, or you can do a this product's never coming back sale, or you can do an out of season sale. Like, giving a reason for a discount makes it way stronger. But these 4 things are also super important. The first thing you can do is frame a discount as a reward, as a thank you for being an early supporter, or exclusive access for our community, or the previous email. You're framing the discount as a reward or as a gift. The second thing you can do is offer value. So like I said, these are your bundles, including free shipping, adding gift with purchase or bonus items. These are great ways to make an offer that doesn't rely on a discount. Because remember, we are trying to change the behavior of these customers. They started at 40% off. We've now sprinkled 20% in front of them. Over time, we want to get them closer and closer to shopping at full price. That's the best chance we have with these customers. But giving some sort of offer in terms of free items, it maintains perceived value while still providing an incentive. The third thing, we want to maintain exclusivity. In that last email, remember I said we want to give a unique code. We don't want to overhaul the website. We don't want to post it on social media. We actually want to make this an exclusive offer that they don't see anywhere else. So people will pick up on that. If you send an email saying this offer is just for you, and then they go on your website and there's a banner that says like 20% off site wide, that's eroded trust. So you want to avoid that. The fourth thing, and one of my favorites, is the transactional offer. The best time to give an offer to someone and not erode that brand equity that people get so worried about eroding is when you're asking them to do something in return. And that something can't be buy my product. It has to be something like, I know my camera is blocking this, unfortunately, I don't know how to change it. But, hey customer, we'll give you 15% off if you fill out this survey, helping us learn more about customers like you, or helping us learn more about how we can better help customers like you. You ask the customer to fill out a legitimate survey. It's a win-win. You learn more about the customers you just acquired, then they get 15% off. That's an equal transaction. That's a fair trade agreement. That's what we want, a transactional offer. That's the best way to provide something without necessarily eroding your brand equity. Now, you're going to get a lot less uptake on that because people are going to go, oh, I'm lazy. Do I really want to fill out a survey? But it's still a great way to do it to particular customer segments. We've been running this already this year as well. A few post-purchase surveys that have gone out to customers for different brands. We have one brand get 1,200 responses to a post-purchase survey that then gave them 15% off in return. They don't erode the brand equity. We only send it to an exclusive segment of customers and we frame it as a reward. It does all of them in one. It's like a thank you for filling out our survey. We actually get a lot of orders off the back of that, and with data and survey data, which we can then use. It's fantastic. Now, how do you measure success on this? Before we jump to a Q&A, this is the last slide. Monitor and compare your cohort analysis. This is a little more advanced, but look at your cohort analysis. Look at customers you acquired in November 2025 versus November 2024 and compare how often they're returning. I can't go back very easily, but you'd simply look at those two rows, November 2025 customers versus November 2024 customers. How often are they returning? If November 2025 customers, you see a nice little spike in January or February when you run this promotion, you know you've done a good job. Secondly, you want to track revenue or LTV from that cohort compared to the same cohort last year. So again, you can do this in a cohort analysis, or you can do this in marketing analytics in Klaviyo, where you track the two segments, customers you acquired in Black Friday 2024, customers you acquired in Black Friday 2025. Again, the best way to do that is through a simpler cohort analysis. Or compare repeat purchase rates from the same period last year. You can do that easily in Shopify or some other dashboards, softwares as well. But you can measure the success. The other really simple way to measure success is to just look at how much revenue the campaign generated in Klaviyo. That segment is only people you acquired in Q4. They haven't purchased again since. They're not customers who are on subscription or anything. The attribution's as good as you're going to get in this scenario. Send a campaign and report on the sales, and you can determine whether or not it was a successful activity. You might need to send 2 emails or 3 emails reminding them. Like any sort of good flash sale, you have a reminder or something, because people will miss the first email. So don't just send 1 email and be like, yeah, that'll do. And oh, why did only 20 people buy? You can have some follow-ups in there as well and get creative. Now, I think time for Q&A. 40 minutes on the dot. Nailed it. Hopefully this works. I've noticed a few questions in the chat. I'm going to open this to everybody. So anything you put in the chat or the Q&A, I think there's a Q&A section. Hopefully this shows up. If it's not working, I will just rely on the chat. I'll give a couple of minutes for some questions in the chat box. Feel free to ask anything about the presentation, about Klaviyo in general, about email marketing in general, about Q1 in general, whatever it is. Happy to answer anything. So I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to throw some questions in, and then we'll go through them. All right. First question there from Connie. For the first segment, Black Friday 2025 buyers, does that flow exclude people who have asked for a refund on their Black Friday order? No, it does not, but you can do that. You simply need to add one filter to the thing, which says what someone has done is canceled order 0 times overall time. And that'll block out anyone who has done it. So there is a canceled order criteria you can add to any of your Klaviyo segments. That's a good point. I probably should have put that in. But But like, to be honest, a lot of brands like will just send it to people who ask for a refund. Like if they shopped with you for the first time during Black Friday, they haven't shopped with you since, and they refunded the order, I'd be sending them the discount. Like they're pretty useless to you otherwise. Like they have an LTV of 0 and there's a good chance they'll never come back. So I'd probably just send them the discount and hope they come back. But otherwise, yeah, you can add the canceled order criteria. All right, it says admin. I'm going to open this up. Hopefully this works. Otherwise, just put it in the chat box. I don't think it was working, but just drop them in the chat box and we can get through it. I just opened it to everybody. So everybody should be able to jump in. Question from Jeremy. Can you recommend any in-depth resource that digs into segmentation strategy? We've obviously read a lot about it, but would be curious if you have any additional resources to recommend. Yes, go to my YouTube channel, cheeky plug, and anyone's YouTube channel, to be honest. Like I had this question in a presentation I did last week. If you go on YouTube and just write Klaviyo segmenting strategy, there's a lot of really good resources from some great people there. If you have like some in-depth questions that are specific to you, because to be honest, it does vary a lot brand to brand. So if you have some in-depth questions specific to your brand with a bit more context, shoot me an email and I'll run you through exactly how I would run it. Otherwise, jump onto my YouTube and there's plenty of like more general segmenting advice there. What I recommend is sort of like very briefly, 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, segment based on engagement. Who's opening, who's clicking, who's starting checkouts, who's been placing orders. They want to be getting 80% of our campaigns. 20% of the time, we want to dive a little bit more deeper and get a little more niche with our segmenting. Phoenix, what are your thoughts on a reward system? I think reward systems are slowly dying in a nice way. The best reward system in the world right now is Mecca. Everyone knows the beauty brand Mecca, or at least you should. They're one of the biggest brands to ever come out of Australia and New Zealand. And they have like 4 million people in their loyalty program, and it's because they give gift boxes. They're very specially curated gift boxes that they have a whole team working on year round to give people what they want. That then also creates a viral loop because everyone wants to know what's in the gift boxes. It's the best strategy. I think the points for dollars off is dying slowly. In some brands, it still works really well. Like if you have a brand that's more of a necessity, like your rewards point for groceries or rewards point for pharmaceuticals. Like it still works really well because they're necessities that people need to buy and they appreciate the discount and it'll stop people going and shopping around. But, if you're selling activewear or something, or like, it's just, you're eroding like the value of your brand. Like you don't see a Louis Vuitton going like, hey, place 5 orders with us and we'll give you $200 off. I think that it's slow and more creative loyalty programs will work a lot better in the next couple of years. When should we clean our Klaviyo list after BFCM signups? Now, probably. Now's the best time to do it. You've probably just smashed everyone during Black Friday. If you had a business that's over 1 or 2 years old, you will have a whole cohort of people who now haven't placed an order with you for more than a year, and they didn't place an order during Black Friday. If they've been on your email list for a year and they didn't place an order during Black Friday and they haven't placed an order in that entire year, it's time to go. They've done the dance. You can't be paying for these profiles anymore. Nothing we do is going to get them over the line. Like if Black Friday didn't do it, nothing will. The only caveat is you want to make sure anyone you clean off your list, you've sent at least 5, ideally 10 emails to in the last year. So you've actually tried to re-engage them. What a lot of brands make the mistake of doing is going, okay, who hasn't placed an order? And then they just clean them. But what they actually find is they never actually sent that customer any emails. So that's how you want to do it. But otherwise, the time is now. I have other resources on properly cleaning your list. So if you need that, let me know. I might attach that to this recording as well and send out a general email that has this and the list cleaning guide. Aaron, any ideas for segment for me launching a new revitalized version of my ongoing fitness coaching service? Send it to everyone. Send it to everyone except your current customers. I would have 2 different messages. If you're providing a service and you're revamping it, for new customers or people on your email list who aren't a customer of yours now, send them some sort of more marketing salesy type message where you're trying to, convince people of the new added benefits. For your existing clients, I don't know whether you're trying to resell them into the new program or if it's just provided as part of your service. If it's just provided as part of your service, just send them an update. If you're trying to resell them, again, you can make it similar, but make it a little less salesy, because these are people who have already committed to you. So you don't need to, really go hard on the direct response copywriting or anything. But keep it that simple. People who haven't bought with you, people who are your current customer. Split your messaging based on that. We'll wait for a couple more questions to come through. Hopefully it's been working for everyone. I apologize for the tech issues at the start. Wait a couple more minutes, and otherwise I will get to work on the recording. Now I can still see your questions as well. If you guys can't see them, I can still see them. Okay, question from Lorraine. What size does a business need to be for us to take on email marketing? Look, it varies a lot. To be honest, right now, we're mainly partnering with brands who are doing above 3 million a year in revenue, but it does depend how quickly a brand is scaling or what their new customer acquisition is like. We've been known to partner with brands smaller, but it really depends on the brand. Either way, we're more than happy to provide an audit and help point you in the right direction if your brand isn't that big. Because there's still a lot of value we can provide just in our free audits, and then we can always stay in touch. Do I offer training courses on email marketing? I have like a full free course on my YouTube, I think. It's like 15 hours long or something. I think it's still there. I'll need to revisit it. But yes, I do have a training course. If you go on my YouTube, you'll find it. If you need help with anything particular, please email me. Aaron, any advice for a January lead magnet? Don't want to give away free programs or free meal plans. Honestly, it took me like 10 lead magnets to find one that worked for like my own business to a degree, or like other clients of ours. Like it takes a long time to get a good one. The only advice I can give for a lead magnet is make it as specific as possible. The more broad you give a lead magnet, the more people who are going to opt in who aren't your target client. Make it as specific as possible. Like 7 steps busy fathers are using to, make time after work to hit the gym. Like something so specific, because then you will attract your target customers and you will solve a specific problem, and you want to make your lead magnet actionable. If you just say, hey, here's a free January program, like every man and their dog's going to download it. And you're not like, it's too broad. You're not solving a problem. So make your lead magnet as specific as possible. Does our team manage the creative design of emails? Yes. Our main service is we partner with brands, we run their Klaviyo, and we do everything. Copy, design, campaigns, flows, strategy. We look into this cohort stuff, all this sort of more technical stuff you've seen in this. That's all sort of packaged into our service. Maria, can you give an example for a survey to get insights for first or second purchase? This is a great one. This is one of my favorite questions. The best thing you can do is ask questions that enhance the avatar. You don't necessarily want to ask questions which are like, hey, why haven't you placed a second order? You want to say, what particular problems were you looking to solve when you found our product? What has our product helped you or not helped you solve? Were our products, was our promises in line, or, did the product perform in line with your expectations? What nearly stopped you from buying our product? How often are you using our product? All these questions which give you better insights into the problems they were trying to solve, whether or not it's been effective, how often are they using it, et cetera, et cetera. That can give you the data you need to then A, enhance your advertising. So you'll be able to create better ads because you'll have better marketing messages. Or B, get more targeted in your email flows and campaigns so you can deliver better messages to people who have placed an order. So ask questions that enhance the avatar. What problems were you trying to solve? What nearly stopped you from buying? What other competitors have you been looking at? Things like that will go a long way. What did you wish you got more out of our product? If you want to make the survey a little more salesy, like you can lean into just positive questions, like, almost like gearing them to say something positive. It's like, describe how my product has helped you sleep better. And then most people will think, oh, actually, yeah, now that you say that, like I have been sleeping better since I took your product, blah, blah, blah. And it will jog their memory in that sense. So you can ask people targeted questions in that regard, which are going to sort of convince them that they want to place a second order while you're also getting the data that you're looking for. Now, everyone I'm still sticking around for 5-10 more minutes. So if you want to chuck some more questions in, you can, or if there's anything you want me to explain further. I don't know if this works, but there is, I don't know if this is showing up for you guys somewhere, but there should be a link if you are a brand looking for an audit of your Klaviyo, or you just want some more specific advice on what I've said today that's, more contextual to your brand. Should be popping up on the screen somewhere where you can just click to the page where we can help you with an audit. Sandra asks, what type of sign-up offers for pop-ups are you finding working well at the moment? I sell home decor. Home decor, typically you can't give away massive pieces of margin. So you want to be as small as possible. I think dollar amounts work really well at the moment, like $10 or $20 off. I think the best ones I'm seeing right now still are the mystery discount on a full page pop-up form. They're the ones that are working best. If you run a full page pop-up form and it looks aesthetic and you offer a mystery discount, they're the ones that are getting the best opt-in. But you can actually see drops in conversion when you use a mystery discount because people fill it out because they want to know what the discount is. And they go, oh, I hope it's 20%. And then it's like 5%. And they're like, oh, okay, well, now I'm not going to order. Whereas if you're upfront from the start, you might get lower opt-in, but better conversion. And it sort of all comes out in the wash. So I think a dollar amount does work best. Even $5 or $10, depending on the product. Like I've seen super high AOV products, like $1,000, $1,500 products give like $5 off and it converts well. I'm usually of the opinion of like, find what works for your margin and then make it work. I think that's the best way to go about it because you don't want to sacrifice on margin, especially for new customers. Like we don't want to play the game of like losing money on our first order just to try get email subscribers. Connie, do you do audits for new brands which are on the trajectory for 1 million? Happy to do audits for majority of brands. Wendy just asked a similar question. Happy to do audits for majority of brands. Like as long as you've got an email list and you've got revenue, like we can do an audit and tell you what you need to set up. That's completely fine. I'm always happy to help. And like the main reason we don't offer the service for smaller brands isn't like to try alienate you. Like we love working with smaller brands. It's more like just ROI viewpoint. Like you guys get much better return on your money putting it back into ads until you hit a certain point where the return on our retainer like generates a very healthy ROI, and that makes sense as well. So we more do it based on experience, knowing what the best financial decisions are when it comes to investing in your email marketing. But happy to do audits for whoever needs one. Hopefully you guys can see that link on the screen taking you to book in an audit if you're looking for one. If not, search up our website, you will see it. All right, couple more minutes of questions. Otherwise, we will wrap it up. I hope everyone has taken some value out of this. I'm going to try to do these monthly, depending on what's happening that month. I'd love to do them more regularly if everyone's enjoying them. Do you work alongside internal copywriter and other team? We have a full in-house team. We have a team of 30 account managers, designers, technicians. We have some copywriters in-house at the moment, yes. But as everyone knows, like copywriting is getting easier with AI. So like a lot of our account managers write copy directly for the brands. We find that's been like a much better feedback loop for our clients lately, as opposed to having, an account manager come up with great ideas and then like someone else has to then try execute. The account managers have gotten really good at writing their own copy. So that's how we structure it if you're interested in the internal workings of an email agency. All right. I think hopefully I didn't miss any questions. Your internal copywriters. We have worked with internal copywriters. We have. Some brands do prefer that. We try not to be completely honest, just because like similar to why we don't have a lot of copywriters in-house is because more hands involved is like the more margin for error, like the, Chinese whispers sort of thing. Like someone writes the brief, someone writes the copy, it's slightly misinterpreted. And by the time the finished product's done, it's not quite intended the way the brief was written. but it has worked before. So I don't say no to anything. Always happy to have a chat. Like if you have an internal copywriter you think's like amazing, we're always happy to like factor that in and look at how that could work. We do have one brand actually that has an internal copywriter for every single email, and we just design and strategize and sort of brief them on what needs to happen. So it has been done before. That was Maria. Alrighty. Cool. Let's give it a wrap there. Hope everyone's taking some value out of it. Thank you so much for coming along. Really appreciate everyone's time. If you have any questions, please email me. My email, I'll just put in the chat, but I will send everyone an email with an update after this. Thank you, everyone.